Since I am from science background, so I did my masters in astrophysics from UK. I was completely into science and not into spirituality at all in the beginning. But I got introduced to this practice called astral projection. So in Hinduism, if you understand Vedic cosmology, it's told that there are 14 lokas, so 14 planes of existence. When you're going to this higher plane called heaven, this heaven is also part of the physical universe. It is in a different frequency in the same physical universe model. So the more higher planes you go, the more subtler the dimension gets and more the time moves slow there. Now when we are astral traveling, astral projection also has different levels to it. You're astral traveling to these other planes, the time is very different there. You might spend so much time there or very little time there, but when you come back to your body, you'll be like, oh, I've been there for so long, but it's just feels like an instant. So
Ultra minds, ultra minds, ultra minds, ultra JK, ultra. Ultra minds, ultra minds, ultra minds, ultra JK, ultra.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Ultraminds podcast with JK Ultra. I'm super excited for my guest today because I've been enjoying his content for years now, and it has been my go-to person for Hindu, Vedic, and also a really interesting take on some New Age concepts as well, really blending the ancient with the modern. So please welcome Sriram Krishnamurthy, who is Conscious Living 117 on all the platforms. How are you?
I'm great. Thank you so much for having me.
So I'm really excited to discuss things with you because, there's definitely a lot of Hindu and Vedic concepts, yoga concepts, Tantra concepts that have been rebranded more by like Western spirituality, New Age spirituality. And I really love how you go to the core of things and you're also a great storyteller. So first, I would love to ask, how did you get into, before we get into all of that, how did you get into making content and sharing this with the world?
Okay, so since I am from science background, so I've been exploring astrophysics. I did my masters in astrophysics from UK. So obviously, I was completely into science and not into spirituality at all in the beginning. I did not believe in all these things. But I got introduced to this practice called astral projection through my friend, and that is where I when he was just explaining me about astral projection, how this works and all, I like, I had this experience twice in my sleep. So maybe this guy, what he's telling is true. I need to explore this. That is how I started just reading about astral projection, how these things work and all. And that was my like, okay, there is a whole new world out there that I need to explore and come out of this little bubble. Oh, science is the base of reality, there's nothing more. So that's how I came into connecting both science and spirituality to see that bigger picture. And yeah, then over years when I was in UK, I started making content just for time pass, like, just putting the camera recording. And over time that became more like passion for me to, just express myself more and more, the research I do, and it went forward that way. So yeah.
Wow, that's so cool. I had no idea that you came from a science background, which is also, I
Yeah.
think, a great way for people to be able to present information in spiritual spaces, right? Because then you kind of have
Yeah.
that skill of really understanding and disseminating information. So that's probably also why you're really good at it.
Thank you. Yeah.
So this wasn't one of the questions that I was going to prepare for you, but it was actually something I almost wrote down. So it's interesting you come from a science background. Is there things that you find in spirituality, in Hinduism, in Vedic traditions that now science has discovered?
Okay, so that's a great question, but there are two ways to put it. One is, like, if we just talk about science, that are we discovering anything in science that spirituality has already discovered? Obviously, yes, because there's a lot of parallels between science and spirituality. Second thing, if you bring in the conspiracy part, matrix part, we all know that everything is just kept a secret, and what they show and what they know is very different, you know. So it's like which side of the truth you're exploring is what we need to understand. So since obviously when I used to explore science and all lot before, I was not aware of all this conspiracies, this reptilian theory, the secret societies, all this blah blah blah. But so obviously I was completely into it. Oh, there's no life out there. Maybe there is, but we don't know. But once I understood the depth of how only a certain information is kept out, but a lot of things are hidden, that's where I start to rethink. There's so much more.
Mm.
It's like that. So obviously, what I would say is that coming to the second perspective of blending conspiracy, yes, everything is known by the people in power, but it's just not revealed too much. I would say, for a lack of better words, people are not ready to know, is one way you could just say. But yeah.
So, um,
Hmm.
speaking of the reptilian theory, one of the things that I've really enjoyed about your videos is kind of taking certain things like the animal head beings, the Anunnaki, the story of reptilians, and then
Yeah.
aligning them with how they actually have shown up in different stories within Hinduism. So, can you explain what some of those correlations are?
Sure, sure. So, when I was exploring about Anunnaki previously, like 2, 3 years before, obviously it's told that Anunnakis are the gods of Sumerians, and they're portrayed to be that they came to mine gold, they've taught a lot of things to the people on earth, and they manipulated DNA, all that. Now, obviously, we know Enki and Lil. I'm sure you're very much aware of them, where Enki is told to be the good one and Lil is told to be the bad one, right? Now they are super advanced in technology and they came from somewhere else to Earth to mine gold. Now, if I take three parameters here, so in Hinduism, if you understand Vedic cosmology, it's told that there are 14 lokas, so 14 planes of existence, right? Our Earth is called Bhulok, which is in the center. So above Earth, there are six planes, and below Earth, there are seven planes, right? So Earth is in the our plane is more of in the center of the universe, is what in Hinduism it is told. Now these six planes above is where these higher beings are. So what we call heaven in Western term is what we call Swargalok in Sanskrit, where these higher beings are there. The more higher dimension you go, the more higher beings are there, right? But now below Earth are seven planes where these lower beings are there. So what we call as demons, and so we call asur. Asurs are called demons in Sanskrit. So these all lower beings are there in this seven lower planes. The more down you go, the more denser it gets. So now these asurs, these demons are also very advanced in technology, right? A large percentage of them are evil, but they're also good ones. When I say good ones, obviously they belong to that clan, but there are few asurs who have a good intention, but they still have a bit negative energy. And they also had interactions of coming to the earth at times in the past. So I've tried to draw what Anunnaki story is with respect to what is mentioned in our scriptures, and I try to map maybe those are same beings just told differently in different cultures. So I made that video. Okay, this could be possibly true because I find so many similarities. Now, what we call as Nibiru, that Anunnakis are coming from the Nibiru. So Nibiru is told in the Western terms. So the lower planes or lower lokas are told in the Hinduism terms. So very much possible, right? So it's like that.
And so, what about the reptilians too? Because you did a video about that as well.
Yeah.
And is that similar that these are in these lower lokas?
So reptilians, the way I picture is that, see, now in Hinduism, it's like very clearly mapped that now I'm sure you're aware of Shiva, Vishnu, Brahma, Shakti, right? So they are obviously on the top level. Though beyond Brahma also there's Shiva, Vishnu, Shakti, they operate which part of the divine, which we call Parabrahman. Okay. So now when that Parabrahman wants to experience itself or want to play a game, for a lack of better words, like let's put it simple. It's creating a physical creation, different universes and different realities altogether, and it's projecting itself into this earthly physical universe. Now, for the game to function, obviously there has to be both good and bad, right? So a good has no purpose if there is no bad to counterpart or defend it. So obviously, now Brahma is told to be the creator of our universe. So when we say creator, he was given the role to create all the stars, planets, galaxies, different planes of existence, humans, animals, plants, different types of creatures. Everything was created by Brahma. Okay. Now, when Brahma created all the beings, everything creation, it took him a longer time. So one day he created stars, planets, galaxies, and all. One day he created how all these things have to be placed in the order. One day he created humans, another day he created devas. Devas means they're not Shiva, Vishnu, but somewhere between humans and the divine, I would say. Okay, so who are in this heaven or Swargalok. Then another day, he also created this demons or this negative beings. So from Brahma's negative thought process only, these lower beings also came into play, right? So now the good and bad obviously came from the creator. Okay. Now, when we talk about the reptilians, so obviously all we could do is get closer to understanding how you could connect the dots. So in Hinduism, which we call this Asurs and all, they have a very big race. There's so many divisions, there's so many civilizations of theirs in the lower lokas as well, lower dimensions. So what I've got to understand is that obviously they are part of the demonic clan, but through time they evolved into more sub races. And now, are you aware of this yoga cycle? So it's told that we have
It's actually one
Sat,
of the things I wanted to ask you to explain.
yeah. So there is Sati Yug, Treta Yug, Dwapar Yug, and Kali Yug. So it's told that in Sati Yug, uh, it was the battle between the gods and the demons, right? So, and in the Sati Yuga, like 99% of the people were good. It's like very divine era. Then in the Treta Yuga, that became 50% good, 50% bad. Then in the Dwapar Yuga, it became 25% good, 75% bad. Now in the Kali Yuga, which we are now, 1% are good, 99% are bad. So it's like, see, we all have some of the other bad quality or bad habits, anything, something negativity. So that is what this Kali Yuga is all about. So now it's told that in the past, these lower entities had the ability to come to Earth a bit easy compared to this time where they can't come in directly. They can't just come in physically and attack. So they enter through portals or they enter to taking different forms or through different rituals. Energetically, they influence. So even if you see the Stranger Things, it's all about that, where they open portals and invite these demons. That is literally truth in plain sight. We all know that, you know, right? So that's how these reptilians also obviously are part of this lower dimensional beings who are trying to influence or rule. But ultimately, if you see on a higher level, the divine is allowing that to happen because it's part of the game, and the divine is not allowing it because it wants something bad, because it knows that for the universe to function, good and bad has to exist. And when the destruction is at the verge, god itself will come and balance out things. It's like that.
Mhm.
So what a lot of people do today is, when they get to know about these conspiracies, they're so involved into talking about this, oh, reptilians, blah blah blah. We all were there. But you see, we also in that process are leaking our energy. We are going away from the real spirituality and going more into conspiracies, right? So that's also not good. Having that awareness is good, but dwelling so much into conspiracies is not gonna take you anywhere. It's just like a loop. You want more and more dopamine hit of knowing these things. So it's like that. And crazy thing I got to like few months back. You see a lot of people these days for lack of better words, the people in power or celebrities, whatever, they do this weird symbols, whatever, this or this, whatever. And you see, it's like a lot of people know it, but they still do it. Why do you think? Now we think that, oh, we are too intelligent to know that we are able to decode the symbols, but they are consciously doing it is because when they do that symbol and when millions of people are putting energy into that or they're gossiping about it, you leak your energy and that symbol gets more and more power through your attention. So it's like that.
Yeah, I'm such a believer in that. And I had an experience with ayahuasca that I saw all of these symbols, all these like conspiracy Illuminati symbols. And the message that I got from it was that these are not proof of evil. These are actually reminders of our own light, which is why they often have things around. Illuminati is about illumination. Lucifer
Yeah.
is about light. All of these things are really actually illuminating for us to
Mhm.
remember our light. So it's actually coming back to what you're saying. In order for good to have a purpose, the bad has to be part of the game. So it's actually
True.
like many people are empowering these things of like, see, it's the evil, and like empowering it as evil instead of remembering that they are light, that they are divine, and they're kind of stuck in that cycle of it versus being like, oh, this is actually just
Hmm.
reminding me of what I am, what we all are.
True. Yeah.
And so
Hmm.
I have a few questions about like the Lokas because then this is very similar to, maybe dimensions. And one time when I was under hypnosis, I was doing the Dolores Cannon style of hypnosis. Someone had asked my higher self in this state, um, are the UFOs really like under the water? And so what it had showed me in my mind was very similar to like the Vedic cosmology of the Lokas. And it was showing that like kind of like these concepts of inner earth or concepts of things being under the water, they're not physically under the water, that they're in another dimension, and that basically it's kind of these planes stacked on each other in earth. So like what do you think about some of these modern concepts around dimensions, astral planes, and kind of beings being either we believe that they're above or we believe that
Yeah.
they're below, but they're actually all here?
Well, okay. Obviously, I have questioned that. So, see, coming to the information that we get through channeling or through hypnosis, I'll just connect that with scriptural references, right? So, a lot of channelers these days, obviously, I made videos on that about the Galactic Federation. I'm sure maybe you've seen that. So we literally say that, oh, the aliens are coming, the disclosure is near, times are coming, and this we've been hearing this for years. We both know that, right? So now, first thing is that let's understand this in more of a video game concept again, right? So this physical universe that we see operates at different levels. I'm connecting this completely to Vedic cosmology. The physical plane is 100, let's consider it's 100% physical in nature, right? Now, when you're going to this higher plane called heaven, this heaven is also part of the physical universe, okay? But it is in a different frequency in the same physical universe model. Now, if you want to go beyond heaven, which we call Svargaloka, there's more Janaloka, Tapaloka, Satyaloka. So when we say Satyaloka, that is where Brahma lives. So he is the highest being in this physical universe. Okay, so the more higher planes you go, the more subtler the dimension gets, and more the time moves slow there. So basically, in Hinduism, there are many stories of how in the past the god, like, there used to be beings who used to travel from earth to these other planes. So it's more like interstellar concept. They spend so many years there. Oh, sorry, they spend, let's consider they're spending 1 year there, and on earth it's almost 100 years, 200 years. So time is very relative from the earth plane to the higher planes. So there's also a story of how there was a king who had a daughter. Okay, it's a real story, and he was not finding any bride for his daughter on earth. She was so beautiful. He was very rich, so he wanted to find the perfect bride. So he took his daughter, he traveled through space time, and he went to the Brahmalok where Brahma stays. And he told her, you know what, I want you to help me to find the right bride for my daughter. The Brahma will laugh and say that, are you crazy or what? Like on the earth, the time is very different from what it is here. So you till you travel from earth to here, millions of years have passed on earth. So he will tell, go back, and when you go back, things are going to be very different, and you're going to find this person, get married to. So the interstellar concept that we see is literally there in our scriptures through different stories. So now coming back to the thing you asked, so dimensions. So coming to the physical universe has different levels to it, and each level has its own time frame. It has its own timeline. So it is like that. So now when we are astral traveling, let's consider now astral projection also has different levels to it. It's like simple thing is you astral travel and come out of your body. You astral traveling to these other planes, right? So the time is very different there. You might spend so much time there or very little time there. But when you come back to your body, you'll be like, oh, I've been there for so long, but it's just feels like an instant. So it is like that.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So it's interesting because, these things kind of align with many different concepts. Like, where you were saying about the Lokas, that like Earth is in the middle. So in shamanism, they believe that, there's the upper world, the lower world, and then
Yeah.
Earth is the middle. And that there's
Yes.
like another side of Earth. So we have like kind of the physical side of Earth and then like a non-physical side of Earth that is in this middle plane. And then
True.
they also, with the time change in these different dimensions. So say, for example, people who have, been abducted by aliens, there's the compressed time. So basically
Yeah.
it'll be 1 second here and they have a
Yeah.
whole entire abduction experience, but only 1 second has passed. And the same with, say people who do like psychic mediumship, that they will connect with a past person, someone who has passed on, and they within 1 second can see this person's whole life story, how they died, all of these things. So it's interesting
Yeah.
when they're accessing these higher planes, it's like they can kind of download this person's whole entire life in that moment and know with what is just
No.
one moment here.
Oh, true.
So with the astral travel, do people mostly only go to these upper lokas, or sometimes are people going to the lower lokas when they astral travel?
See, now since I started my journey by exploring about astral projection, I've read so much about that. So now what I've understood from my experience is that astral projection also has a limit. It's not that, oh, I can astral travel and go wherever I want to, I can meet God and come. This is all we hear, but no, not literally. So through your astral body, you can access this plane called the Bhuvarlok. So Earth is there, which is called Bhulok. Then there's Bhuvarlok. Then there's Swargalok. This is heaven. So between heaven and Earth, there's another plane called the Bhuvarlok. So through astral body, you can explore this Bhuvarlok and come back, but you can't go to the Swargalok or beyond there. So there's a limitation. So this, yes, you can go to this Bhuvarlok and explore, see different beings there, and you can also go to this lower Bhuvarlok where there are negative entities as well. So that's the reason it's told that when you're astral traveling, you have to make sure you do it with the right intention. You have to protect your energy, because when you have good intention, you meet the right beings, you have the right experience. But when you're doing it out of fear or anxiousness or whatever lower emotion, you end up catching the attention of lower entities who again feed on your energy, and you wake up feeling drained. So yes, it's like that.
And so you also did a video on like the animal head beings. And, do you think that that aligns with some of the other traditions like ancient Egypt with like Thoth or Anubis or,
Yeah,
Horus? So do you think that there's the parallel of these animal head beings with that?
100%. So now you know I'm sure you know Shiva, right? Shiva's fierce form is Bhairav. Have you heard about Bhairav? Bhairava.
I think I watched a video that you
Yeah,
did about it, but
yeah,
I think that's really all I
yeah,
know about it.
yeah. So Shiva's fierce form is Bhairava, right? Now, Bhairava's role is to guard, like he is told, there's a city in India called Kashi. Okay, Varanasi, Kashi. So that is the center of Bhairava's place. Okay, so he is also, his one role is also to make sure people who are dying in the Kashi, he will take care of them. And he also has a Vahan. He also has a Vahan. Vahan matlab his pet dog. That is also helping Bhairava to help souls after death, which draws parallels with Anubis, who is helping the souls of people in Egypt after death. Now, if you see Anubis' head, it looks like what? Jackal, which is similar to the dog. They both come from the same family if you go back in time, right? So now that is one parallel. So maybe Anubis can be Bhairav's dog, who are playing the same role in different cultures. Can be. Okay. Again, we can get closer to understanding. Now, if you know this flat Earth conspiracy, I'm not telling Earth is flat. Okay. But if you talk about that, the reason that comes up is because in Hinduism, it's clearly mentioned how beyond the six continents or the seven continents, there are these other regions out there. So in Hinduism, there's something called this Bhu Lok, or the earth, which I told is part of the Bhu Mandala. They call it the Bhu Mandala, right? It's circular flat plane. And in Bhu Mandala, there are seven dvipas, seven divisions. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And the first division in the center is what? The Jambudvip island is there. In this Jambudvip island, there's told to be 9 Varshas in total. And our 6 to 7 continents is part of Bharata Varsha, which is just one Varsha of the Jambudvip. And since the other Varshas, this land beyond the known 7 continents. Now, this is all there in scripture called Brahma Puran, Brahmanda Puran, Vishnu Puran. Everywhere, it's clearly there. And it's told that here, these animal headed beings with human body are present. So it's like they have their entire, just like, India, America, Australia, Africa. In the same way, they have their entire civilization which is present there. And obviously, they are very spiritual, they are very advanced in nature compared to humans. That again draws parallels with these ancient Egyptian gods like Sekhmet and Bastet, like, Thoth and all, because they all also have animal head and human body. So I find that those parallels there. So maybe what we are calling, so these beings are called Kim Purushas, Kinnaras and Kim Purushas, having this animal face or bird face. So maybe in Hinduism we call them Kinnaras and Kim Purushas. In the Egyptian terms, we call them with something else. So yeah.
Interesting. And kind of when you're describing these like lands beyond the 7 continents, in a way it kind of also like aligns with some of the newer concepts of like kind of starseed stuff, because these are things that are kind of, we would consider other lands, other planets outside of
Yeah.
here. And like Sirius, is connected to like the dog star. And a lot
Yeah.
of these are also connected to these kind of animal-like beings. People believe in like the Lyra and Vega are more like cat-headed beings. So it's interesting that like, these concepts kind of are reinvented in like more modern terms. Like, of course, like the samsara concept is now more that we understand the word video game, Matrix. They're kind of like these updated versions for our language today. But it's interesting that it kind of does align with some of these concepts.
Yeah. 100%. Yeah.
So let's see. I have many questions. Let me just look at my list here. Oh, okay. So can you explain kind of like why these, say like Shiva and other gods, that they have like many different avatars and many different manifestations? So why do they have multiple? And like, sometimes they're like serene, or then they kind of have the shadow side or like the anger side, and like they have many different manifestations of them. Can you explain that?
See, now let's keep it in human terms, like, simple way. When I'm angry, I'm one version of myself. When I'm calmer, I'm different. When I'm excited, I'm different. When I'm super joyful, I'm different, right? Now, Shiva, when see, Shiva's nature generally is calm, peace. He just likes to meditate in his zone. So when Shiva, so this story of how, in one creation, Brahma and Vishnu, they started out arguing that I'm great, I'm great, I'm superior, I'm superior. And then Shiva, who was beyond them, took one light of pillar form and he came, and they both, Vishnu and Brahma, wanted to go on a race to see who could find the ends of this infinite pillar. So Vishnu goes in one direction, Brahma goes another direction. So Vishnu will go, he'll keep on going, but he couldn't find the end, and he will give up and he'll come back and say that, I couldn't find the ends of this infinite pillar. But Brahma, what he'll do is, like, no, he will lie that I found it. And he will, obviously, being in that position of creator, he will lie. So that point, Shiva is going to come into the picture, and from Shiva's anger, Bhairava will come out. So Bhairava, with his little finger's nail, he'll cut off one of Brahma's head. So Brahma had 5 heads, he'll cut off one Brahma's head. So that fifth head of Brahma indicated Brahma's ego that had to be cut off. So that was the manifestation of Bhairav to come into existence. Then obviously there are many stories of Bhairav. One, as I told, he guides the souls of the dead in Kashi. Many stories. Now there's another story where Shiva took another form called Virabhadra, where where he, now obviously his wife is Parvati. I'm sure you're aware, right? Shakti's form Parvati. Before that, before Parvati, she, in her previous life, she was called Sati. So they both got married, Shiva and Sati. So there's a story where Sati's dad, he didn't like Shiva. So obviously Shiva and Sati, they'll stay separately. And his Sati's father will perform a ritual, and he will not invite Shiva and Sati. But Sati, she will choose to go to the function, the ritual. And his father will start insulting Shiva in front of everyone. So Sati, she will jump into the fire and she will take her life. So Shiva, when he'll get to know that, he will become very furious, like super angry. And from that, Virabhadra will come out from Shiva's anger, who will go and cut off Sati's father head. So that time Virabhadra came in. Then Shiva is also called Pashupatinath, who protects animals. So at different instances, different forms of Shiva will come to serve a purpose, to do a certain thing. In the same way, when you see Vishnu also, he takes different avatars, right? So he takes the avatar of Sriram, Krishna, Parshuram, Narasimha. So through different times, whenever Earth goes through chaos and it needs the protection from the divine, Vishnu, from his dimension, he takes an avatar, he takes a form, and he comes to Earth to restore dharma, to restore the faith in people. So it's like that. They take different forms according to the time and according to what's needed. It's like that.
And so, the word avatar kind of gets used a little differently now,
Hmm.
and similar as well. But,
Yeah.
then there's kind of like this concept in spirituality, more like modern spirituality, of like an oversoul. And that there's
Yeah.
kind of like this larger soul that breaks
Mhm.
down and manifests into many different people, and how, maybe thousands of people on earth have one oversoul that they share. So is that kind of like a similar form of it, but just like without, it being that the person that comes down is a god, it's like we're just regular people that are kind of avatars of an oversoul?
Again, now this concept of oversoul, it's like when we also say we have this higher self, or we have this parallel versions. So this all connects to, again, like, how do you understand the depths of it? When we again literally say, oh, we got a higher self, oh, we got an angel, we literally say this because we hear this from people and we assume, oh, we also got one. But where have you read this? What is the base of this that you're trying to conclude things, right? So when we say about oversoul, what I believe is that maybe, just maybe, just like our consciousness is present in this physical body, a part of your consciousness also exists in this higher plane. Maybe that could be your higher self or oversoul that's watching you. It could also be maybe your higher self could be some higher being or a devata in a higher plane that is having some other role, and maybe it also guides you when you are here through intuition, through giving you signs. So you could put it that way.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And also kind of coming back to like the time being different in the different lokas. When in that same experience that I had with the ayahuasca, I kind of saw that like the whole Big Bang, the whole universe from beginning and then to end is just one of like God's breaths. So it's
Oh,
interesting that like it's the whole entire universe that we would consider like billions of years is just one breath. So it's interesting this kind of as it goes higher. So the Big Bang is just the expansion of a breath and then back. And then sometimes I've heard, and I have heard people say it with like, and I don't know if it's correct that this whole universe is almost like Vishnu's dream. I've heard people say
yeah.
that. I don't know if that's accurate to,
True.
what scriptures say.
Yeah, so it's told that, see, there are what we call Vishnu is part of our physical universe. Okay. What we call Mahavishnu, which is higher form of Vishnu, he operates more on a multiverse level. Okay. So in Hinduism, it's told that when Vishnu is exhaling, infinite universes are coming out of his breath. And when he inhales, all the universes are getting destroyed and going back to him.
Oh, wow.
So so and it's also again, it also kinds that Vishnu is in this yoga nidra. Yoga nidra means this, what we say, just in his sleep but not deep sleep, like he's conscious of his surroundings but he's in that sleep state, and in his yoga nidra all the universes are getting created and destroyed. So that connects with your experience.
Wow.
So yeah.
And that's
Yeah.
kind of where I've heard those things. Sometimes when I've talked about those experiences, people are like, "Oh, that's in Hinduism. That's it's called this," or, you know. And then,
Mhm.
it's interesting too, talking about this kind of state that you just described in the Monroe Institute, they have
Yeah.
focus level
Yeah.
10, which is
Yeah.
actually very similar to that. It's focus level 10 is an altered state that you get to in
Yeah.
meditation, and it's called body asleep, mind awake.
Yeah,
And
I've done that. Focus 10 and 12. Yeah.
and so it's interesting that that's kind of
True.
that same type of thing because
True, true.
in focus 10 and 12, you kind of create so much happens in your mind in that short period of time. And it's
Yes.
only like 30 minutes here, but you've like gotten all of these revelations and healings and things coming forward and memories.
Yes. So yeah, that obviously draws parallels. So again, you see now time, when you compare time from our physical universe to Vishnu's breath. So for Vishnu, it's just the matter of his one breath, inhale, exhale, the universe is creating and destroyed. But
Mm.
for us, it's like billions of years. So see how
Wow.
time is again different.
Wow.
So
And
yeah.
also, what I had seen in that experience was, as the Big Bang is constantly expanding and the universe is expanding, I saw that at the top, and what it kind of showed me is like at the top of like breath work, people will kind of hold for like that prana, and there's like that moment of like bliss before when you fully breathe in, you hold it at the top before you inhale again. And it was like that, it kind of showed me that there will be like a time of this universe that will have this like prana kind of high point where it just is still for a moment and then it all collapses back and there'll be another breath that we can't even fathom what that next breath will be because it'll be a completely different universe.
Yeah. Yeah. True. Makes sense.
And does that kind of at all line up with like the yuga cycles of like kind of, like a point where things kind of are in some weird still peace, perfect balance type of place.
Yeah, yeah, true.
So also, one of the other things that kind of gets talked about a lot, which is probably partly derived from Hinduism, is this kind of, in modern times in conspiracy, people talk about like the soul trap, the cycling, the recycling of the soul, how you have to escape the matrix and these things. And then, in Hinduism, there's like the basically liberation from the reincarnation cycle. So can you kind of explain maybe where either that is similar or maybe that there's misconceptions around this type of soul trap?
So again, obviously, yes, it's told in every religion that the purpose of the human life is to master this earth plane so that you get to experience this higher plane, so you get liberated. Now, coming to the soul trap, obviously, all these new theories are coming, which we are trying again. I'm trying to find parallels with Hinduism again, which is more like even after death, there's still manipulation, that you're showed the false light and the false guides are coming and guiding you and you sending you back to earth to reincarnate again, and you're in this loop again and again. Now, I made a video on this like 4 5 months back, how this is a false light trap. And a lot of people question me that, oh, how can there be manipulation after death? God would not allow that. So here, that's the thing, no. Again, when we die, it's not that your soul is traveling alone. So in Hinduism, there's this concept where a soul is never on its own as long as it's part of the physical universe. So when we die, your soul goes into another body called subtle body. In Sanskrit, we call it the Sukshma Sharir. So the soul goes into the Sukshma Sharir and it travels to the ancestor realm, right? Now let's consider it's given a judgment to go to a higher plane. It leaves the Sukshma Sharir and it gets another body called the Deva Sharira, which is more like a cosmic body, like higher body, through which it goes to the heaven. In the more higher planes it goes, the other body it gets. Let's consider it's going to the hell. It gets another lower density body to which it goes and experiences the hell. So the soul is always in a body, let that be in any dimension. Okay, so because it is still existing in the physical universe, and this physical universe has different densities and different dimensions, so these lower entities are not only in earth, they're also in these other dimensions. So they still have the ability to manipulate you even after death. That's the reason it's told that the free will exists for this entire universe, for all the 14 planes. The free will is not limited to earth. But again, when you're growing spiritually, you're having a proper connection with God as you're alive, that divine energy is going to protect you wherever you are. But if there is not there, then these lower entities have the ability to manipulate you. So this concept of soul trap or this beings trying to create a fake life simulation of the death is very true. But again, uh, for a lack of better words, I would say I haven't really found that parallels with Hinduism, but I do believe in this because of the research I've done and what I see. And we also talk about this moon, right? So this moon that's been placed here some 12,000 years ago, whatever. It's told that, again, if you see, in Hinduism, what we call the real moon is Chandradev. Maybe you heard about it. Okay, so in moon we call as Chandradev. He is also a deity, Dev. Okay, so he is told to be almost 3 million kilometers from Earth. If you see the distance from the Earth plane to the Chandra Lok, it's 3 million kilometers. And Chandradev is told to be twice the size of the sun. Sun is called Surya Dev. So these are all divine beings, sun, moon, stars, and all. Okay. Now, when you see the moon, the Chandradev is bigger than the sun and is 3 million kilometers away. And Hinduism clearly says how on the moon there are different higher beings who are residing there, just like how we are on Earth. And when you see this moon, obviously it's told to be some 384,000 kilometers. It's very small in size compared to the sun. And it's obviously there are many theories about why we haven't gone to the moon. Was it moon landing was short in the Cold War between the US and Russia, whatever. So this all makes us question ki, yes, maybe this conspiracy is true. So maybe this moon is not what the real moon that is mentioned in Hinduism. And I do believe in because of the parallels that's clearly there. So yeah, it's like that.
So I'm not really a believer of the kind of white light soul trap, the moon, Saturn matrix thing. I think it's actually kind of going through a filter of fear that people are
Yeah.
kind of retelling something. But
Yeah.
what I do believe is I believe, I do believe that Earth is a simulation. And then I think there's simulations outside of it that kind
Yeah.
of similar to the Lokas, where these kind
Yeah.
of other beings assist in like soul family, soul group, ancestors. Exactly what you're saying is that they kind of assist us as it's similar to the Tibetan Book of the Dead, where they say that basically through the dying process, all of your own demons and thoughts and stuff will try to manipulate you away from
Yeah.
crossing
Yeah.
over. And
True.
also with Monroe Institute at Focus Level 25, you go to the plane of human beliefs. And when I experienced that, I saw it was like all the different afterlives. So it was like Christian heaven, um, Muslim afterlife, Egyptian afterlife. There was a place for people who didn't believe in anything, who were just kind
Oh.
of like in a void. And then Robert Monroe had talked about it at law. And he said there was like even a place for people who were like, I'm ascended. I'm on my last life. I have no more lessons. There was even a place where those people went, and everybody kind of went to where they believed they would go. And they
Mm-hmm.
experienced that until they were ready to experience something else. Again, the free will, even in the afterlife. But that
True. True.
basically they would go towards the deities, the imagery, the people that they wanted to be connected to. So it's
Mm-hmm.
interesting is there's also a lot of overlap with that as well, is they're still kind of in these different forms of bodies and a different form of
Yeah.
existence. So these people who believed that they're going to, and then there's a book as well that says like people who don't meditate dissipate after they die, which I think is kind of similar to what you're saying of like if you're connected to God, basically, you're kind of always being guided in some way throughout this cycle. And those people who are not connected to that can kind of like get lost.
True. True. I mean, what I've understood through time is that a lot of things that we believe, see, again, when you're reading scriptures as well, now the original scriptures were written thousands of years back in Sanskrit. And in the process of translating it for hundreds of years, till now translating it to English for us to read, a lot of things are filtered, a lot of things are maybe misinterpreted, manipulated, right? So there's so much depth to it that is not available by just reading, and few things are only gonna come, that clarity is only gonna come by going within. So for that reason, when we are trying to uh, base our research based on what we are reading, that's also not completely true. And second thing is that let's consider when we say that we are getting this download in our meditation, or we are seeing these visions. Now again, let's consider few years back I had a certain download or a certain vision that was with respect to what my awareness level was at that time, and now it's very different. So I get a different thing, and both things doesn't match. So which is real now? Sometimes yes, we do get these visions, but we can't base our reality completely on what we see through those experiences, is what I've understood. So it's like we can get closer to understanding the truth over a period of time, maybe. It's like
Right.
that.
And so I'm very much in that place as well. A lot of the things that I had originally created content on, I don't believe anymore because, and probably the
Yeah.
same for you, you make a video about
100%.
it
Yeah.
and then in a year you're like, "Oh, by the way, that thing." And so
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
very into the Kabbalion and like the Hermetic principles. And what they talk about is kind of everything is a half truth, and the more you learn, it usually tells the what you previously knew was wrong in some
True.
way.
True.
And so,
True.
and the same thing happens, with science, of course, right? So we have like, every time you kind of go up a level in science, it almost disproves the last. Like, say, physics, we have like, physical matter, solids. You go to
Yes.
quantum physics, there's no such thing as solids. So I think it's
Yes.
this never ending process of kind of learning and unlearning and learning and unlearning. And so spirituality, exactly too. Then we have also limited awareness, limited language. It's all stories because, a lot of times I use the example of like if you're telling a child that it's bad to lie, but when they lie, they get what they want. So you have to tell them about, the little boy who cried wolf, that basically if you lie when you need to tell the truth, no one's going to believe you. So we have to like learn through stories on each
Yeah.
level of awareness. And so that's
True.
why I think, all of these things, I think people kind of they get to the conspiracy or they get to, maybe star seeds, aliens, and they're like, no, this is the real truth now. All that other stuff was not. And then again, it's just another story. And the story's just because it's much more complex than what we could understand without these stories, because humans learn everything through story.
True. What do you
So
think about this? Like, we see in the US, a lot of people talk about UFO, seeing these things, then the three eye atlas, which is trending. What do you think about all those things?
So I'm not a fan of the Three Eye Atlas thing. I think it's just like a media sensation.
True.
But I am an abductee. My whole family saw a UFO when we were kids, and so this was in 1993. So I
Okay.
have been a believer of it for a long time. I think, when I was younger, I definitely believed it was physical because we all saw it in the physical. It wasn't a dream state, and the UFO came.
Yeah.
And it's like all of my family has the same story from it. However, with even with your own experiences, like you're saying, your own download, this was a physical thing that we all experienced. Even that, now I realize I have to take away the definitions of this. I have to take away the definition of a UFO, take away the definition of an alien, take away these things so that I can actually continue learning. Otherwise, you get stuck there. But it's
True.
hard when it's your real experience. And this is what happens to
Certainly.
people say, you did the thing about the Galactic Federation. And I feel the same way is that like people have maybe had these real experiences with meditation, with whatever their connection is, but that makes us grasp onto it, and then you can't learn anything beyond it. So it's very difficult, I think, to take your own experiences and be willing to redefine them. So I am a believer of, I'm a big believer of aliens because of my own experience. I think it's a dimensional thing that is happening, which is why some people see it and some people don't, that are in the same place at the same time. And I think, you know, I think it's similar to what has happened throughout history. Whatever people's awareness is what they are going to see when we see these higher dimensional beings, because our brain can only interpret it so much. So I think, what we see as like UFOs, is like the chariots of the gods or all of these different versions of things throughout history.
True. True.
So
True.
I think
So
that we
it's,
get the
yeah.
imagery.
So it's like, obviously, the devas, the higher beings, they do have these advanced technology through which they travel 100%. The lower entities, they do also have this access to different flying devices through which they travel. So the UFO sightings which we see can be the good ones or the bad ones, 100%. So, I had this experience as well of seeing a UFO. So when I was in New Zealand, I went for my PhD in 2023. It was like for 3 years, but I quit it because of not liking it. So I'm sure you know this person called Stephen Greer, right? The C5 meditation.
Mhm.
Okay. So one day I just made a video on C5 meditation, how it works, telling about how people contact aliens through this meditation and all. I made a video, I posted it. Okay. I came outside my room. It was like around 7:30 in the evening, just to take some fresh air. And suddenly, just 100 meters above my head, a UFO, it was circular, it had greenish white color coming out of it. It went in front of me, it disappeared just in thin air. I was like shocked, like absolutely, like I saw it physically with my eyes. It was not a drone, no flight, no nothing. It literally, it was circular, it was super speed, it just disappeared. And maybe they knew that I'm making a video about the C5 meditation, how to connect in contact. I'm not sure if that was a good UFO or a bad one, but real experience. Then also had many experiences in my astral travel. When astral travel in the same room, when I came out, I saw entities. Like, I've seen this mini grace once. There was an experience. It was not a pleasant experience. Obviously, I freaked out. Then I saw a being similar to the lion, which had a lion face. That was very beautiful. Even in Hinduism, Vishnu's one avatar is Narasimha, you know, the lion headed god. So that again connects to lion. At that point, I had no idea of who these beings are, but later I got to know that they exist in the astral plane. They could guide us. So 100% I do believe in it. But again, again, this project Blue Beam is coming, where we really don't know what is true and what is false. And the reason a lot of people talk about UFOs is also that they think, again, this disclosure, whatever, blah blah blah, it's like very fancy. Oh, aliens are coming, we can see them, we could interact with them. But again, making you look forward to it, creating that dependency. Okay, let them come or let them not come. How is that gonna help you evolve spiritually? Yes or no?
Right.
Even if they're coming in front of you and giving you things, that's only boosting your ego. It's not taking you anywhere to tune within, right? And the Galactic Federation thing, obviously, before I used to really like it, but when I saw a pattern of how it's always about love and light, it's always about the aliens are coming, they're in contact with this people in power, that's where I start to like, let me research, let me rethink. And I went into the depth of it. Then I saw, there's this false light trap even here as well. So yeah. And second thing is that if you connect this to Hinduism as well, now you see many people channeling things. They say that, oh, I downloaded this information, this, that. Now, if you see many ancient sages, rishis, and all, they meditate for years and years. They spend their entire life in meditating to evolve spiritually. But now, any person, even any TikToker, teenage TikToker is coming and saying, I channeled this Pleiadian, it gave me a message. That is where it becomes a bit fishy to think that, oh, is it so easy for people to just channel them overnight and give information? And the information they give is also like very similar to what the other channelers are talking. So you never know, that's just like your mind is making that up, or if it's really coming in, because the real beings are never gonna give it off easily and come just give and guide you. Especially when there's an ego, when there's desperation that I want to channel, they never ever come in. That is what Hinduism clearly says. For that reason, in Hinduism, there's a proper procedure how to do a sadhana, how to connect with God, how to chant a mantra, how to be disciplined. Because ultimately, they will come and guide you when you evolve. It's not about they coming or not, it's about your evolution. And when you evolve to a certain level, there's no ego, there's no desperation. And when you are at that point and when they come in contact or meet you, you are not like, oh, you came and noticed that. You are in that state where you receive it properly and you understand what they say, rather than, oh, you came in, what next? you know so that's what I like kind of started to rethink what I used to believe for years, all this modern age spiritual things. Again, this portal video I made like few days back, 1111 portal. like so it's like, it's literally creating limitation, right? You need to wait for 1111 day to sit and manifest, where your consciousness is so powerful that you could manifest in any given single moment. Why would you want to wait for a date, a certain time, wait desperately to manifest? And again, a lot of people just say that, just sit and burn this bay leaf, right? This number. and the universe will do its job. If you want to, let's consider, get a certain job, you want to earn a money, you want to learn a skill, would that gonna just come by burning a bay leaf at 11:11, or it's gonna come by putting in the actual work and taking action, right? So again, when we say this portals, it's also coming on a false Gregorian calendar that was manipulated. So the calendar itself is false. So let's really not come near the date itself, right? Now you see Hindu festivals and all, they come every year, they come on a different date. Now let's consider Dasara, Diwali. I'm sure you're aware of these festivals, right?
Mhm.
So every year the date changes because they follow the 13-month lunar solar cycle. So when you connect that to the Gregorian calendar, every year the festival dates are changing because these festival dates are coming when the stars, planets are all properly aligning. They're not coming on the same date, which again is something you could rely on, which is having a proper astronomical connection. But these portal dates are again man-made stuff. On the man-made stuff, you're again selling it to people, telling something magic is happening. And what happens is that the more you be like, oh, I saw this angel number, oh, I got this, the more you're gonna look forward to seeing angel numbers. See, we all been there. When I was 3, 4 years back, I used to also like, oh, I saw this angel number, and I keep on seeing them again, 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 again. And my spirituality was based on seeing those numbers and creating that ego. Ki, oh, I saw this number, the angel is there. Wow. But you know what I got to know through time is that let it be positive entities or lower entities. They, when we say that they are hidden worlds just here, right? As you told earlier, yes, and these entities are in a higher plane, but they're just around us. And they absolutely have the power to grab your attention and make you see a certain thing. For example, you're on your laptop working randomly, you don't want to check your phone, you just see your phone, there's no notification, no call, no purpose, suddenly you see your phone, there's 11:11. These entities have the power to grab your attention and make you look there. That much power they have, this much I've researched. So it could be that when you're seeking it out of desperation, these lower entities are making you see that, and when you leak that energy, oh, I saw it, that energy is going to them and they feed on it. That's how deep it is. For that reason, you see, when a lot of people do this modern age rituals, like doing rituals on new moon or portals, we hear a lot of people saying, I feel so drained after this ritual, I feel so exhausted. If that was a real spiritual practice, why would you get exhausted? Why would you get drained? When you do a proper sadhana that is aligned with scriptures, when you do a proper meditation, that will always empower you after meditation, that will make you feel stronger. When I do also sit and meditate, I chant a mantra every time. Anytime I do it, I feel amazing after that. My mind is so calm, so centered, so aligned. But when you're doing this new age rituals, we are feeling drained. So maybe these new age rituals, the energy is going to these lower entities, they feed on your energy, and that's the reason you feel drained. And that is relabeled as, oh, things are getting cleared. No, it's, you're leaking your energy there. It's like that.
And I think one of the things that I really appreciated that you said about that is how a lot of the new age stuff is more outside of the self. It's more looking for the answers outside of the
Yes,
self. And it's
true,
more so like empowering other things. And, same thing with kind of the star seed stuff and things like that. It's like, it's something outside of yourself.
true.
And you get further and further. At first, it seems expansive, like the world is so big and there's so much out there, but you just keep getting more and more distant from, even with the conspiracy stuff, you start looking at, oh, this person, they're distracting us. They're taking our power away. They're poisoning us. And what you're doing again is empowering all of these other things when it's like, you're distracting yourself by putting the information into it. You're poisoning yourself by following, whatever is presented to you. So it's interesting is all of like, then I feel like these are maybe kind of tests and lessons of spirituality, is like you kind of need to go, for a lot of people,
True,
they kind of need to look outward before they have the courage to look inward, because it's scary to look inward. And also
true.
even the gods, even Shiva has the shadow form, has the anger form, has the ego form, like all of these different things. And I think, a lot of the people who are on a spiritual journey that's very scary information for them, that they also have an ego and shadow and anger and, these lower forms that they're not really ready to face yet.
True. One thing what I've observed is that now it's like just like using your phone. Let's consider you are traveling somewhere or you got some free time during the day. What do? We open Instagram, we scroll for a while, we get that instant gratification, that dopamine hit. We again continue our work. You get another minute, Instagram. Let's see. Gone. So you're getting cheap dopamine so quickly, instant gratification. And now let's connect that to the spiritual practices. When you are doing a proper sadhana that is aligned with traditions, you never ever ever see results instantly. Also, you see, in Hinduism, you're connecting with a proper deity. There's a proper procedure that every day to sit in the same place, same time, light the lamp, chant a certain mantra for a certain point of time, offer food, and meditate. This process, it takes like half an hour, 45 minutes, whatever. The more time you do, the better it is. And you need to do it every single day. So here, that is creating discipline, consistency, and it's never giving you result on day one. It's taking like 41 days or 108 days for you to go level up. So you're never getting that instant gratification, no dopamine boost, but it's gonna help you become stronger, make you patient, and more connected with God. Right? Now you see, compare that with modern spiritual practices. I see an angel number, I think I'm spiritual. I see a sign from the universe, I think I'm spiritual. Which is more like opening Instagram for a while and getting that instant dopamine hit. Make sense?
Right. And I think too, it's really depending on like the person, how they want to use those things. If
True.
11:11 is that time to be like, okay, I'm going to check in with myself, take a moment for reverence, pull back from everything. But what oftentimes people are doing it is they're doing it
True,
for
true,
the dopamine hit. They're doing it for the
true,
instant gratification.
true, true.
So, and one other thing you said about, oh, yeah, it's also getting the answers from outside when it comes to the new age spirituality. Is it's really like the divination is very outside of the self,
True.
whereas all of the answers we can get that are right for us is actually, stripping
Within.
the stuff away that is not ourself.
Yeah. So like, let's talk in modern terms only. We wait for this weekly galactic updates. Oh, what's the update this week from the Galactic Federation? What are the Pleiadians saying? Right? So they say that, oh, this time people are ascending, more star seeds gonna come to Earth, and good times are coming. The aliens are in contact. The aliens are in contact with the Trump, blah blah blah, whatever. So now, this is always you're waiting for it every week to get an update, to think that you're knowing more and getting more spiritual. Maybe this is not consciously, unconsciously you're getting into that loop, right? But if you see, we always say that the answers are within, right? Now, it's more like when you do this past life regression and all, what are the hypnotherapists doing? They are taking you deeper in your subconscious or superconscious state and making you access your past lives. Am I right?
Mhm.
So the information is all there within you, and you're just accessing what's there in a very deeper level. In the same way, all the answers that you need to know is also there within you, but that is only going to come through time, practice, and exploring deeply for a period of time. So, whatever the updates and all you're hearing is not really serving you to go any deeper in exploring your true self. Ultimately, when we say we want liberation, the journey of the soul is to get liberated. That's only going to come by tuning within and connecting with the God and merging with the divine. That's not going to come by looking for updates or seeing these angel numbers and all. And people, again, my work is to make people understand that it is not this but it is this, because a lot of people don't even know that things are going wrong. They are falling into this trap. Things are, because we've been there. I've been there. I've been talking all these galactic federation things, angel numbers, few years back. But now, after understanding the depth of it, I see how different it is. Now, what I got to know is that the matrix or the people in power, They can't stop you from exploring spirituality. They can't stop you from exploring God. But they could deviate the path and manipulate you in the same spiritual path you're choosing to explore. So that's the reason all these new age concepts are coming. And again, there are many channelers, I mean, in India as well. They say that we are not in Kali Yuga, we are in Dwapar Yuga. Or they say that, so like this Vishnu's 10th avatar called Kalki, that is going to come at the end of Kali Yuga. So when the humanity is at the verge of destruction, that is where the 10th avatar of Vishnu, Kalki, will come. He will kill all the evil people and restore dharma, restore the peace on earth. A lot of these new age channelers say that, oh, Kalki has already come in, he's going to come in very soon. And that doesn't align with anything that is there in our scriptures, because our scriptures say that this is just the beginning of Kali Yuga, only 5,000 years has passed. And there's almost 4,28,000 years for the Kali Yuga to end. So, no matter what you're channeling, okay, you channel, you're providing information, but that can't go to a level where it is against what is written in our scriptures. Because what is written in the scriptures has come from the God Himself. Now, there's this person, this Rishi called Vedavyas. Okay. He narrated many of the scriptures, and there's this God called Ganesh. Have you heard? The
Mhm.
elephant headed God. He wrote, and Ganesh is the son of whom? Shiva. So the God himself wrote the scriptures narrated by Vyas. And you think a person was just randomly channeling and telling that blah 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 this or that, and that is going against scripture that came from the God, which would you rely on? Something that came from the God, or something that is channeled by a person who claims different things every single day? So that is what I want people to question, that don't blindly believe everything you see on the internet, but question, where is this coming from? How does that connect with our ancient wisdom? We want to get updates, we want shortcuts, but we have no time to read what is there in our scriptures. And not having this time and having this impatience is making people fall into, oh, I've got this update, this is only true. This feels good for me, this is only true. This feels that everything is good, so this is only true. And people just go into that. So that is what we need to make people understand, that try to question. You believe it or not, it's up to you. At least question, where is this coming from? How true is this? If I'm hearing something this for the first time, how can this be true? That is what people need to come to.
I totally agree. And that's also where I'm at as well, is a lot of these things, say 5D, New Earth is the same thing as, the Kali Yuga's here. This is the new time. This is the new cycle, the Mayan calendar, Jesus is coming. It kind of is like this escapism, and
True.
we can't speed up the process. And it also, I believe that this process of, ascension, it could have happened 5,000 years ago with the Vedics. They already figured it out.
Yeah.
But we want to keep playing this game
Yeah.
of the universe, of physical reality. We want to keep playing it. So, I'm like, don't rush it. Let them do, people are going to do what they do or believe what they believe. I'm like, I'm not trying to rush into whatever's next, because we get to experience this now.
True. True. It's like that.
Well, thank you so much for this. This was so awesome, so insightful. I really appreciated all of your insight. So, tell us, I know you also do one-on-one coaching. And so if you could tell us a little bit about that, and also where to follow you.
So I do one-to-one coaching where I work with people, teaching them to work on their mindset, to teach them proper manifestation that has to do more with taking action and being disciplined, along with different meditation practices. That is more like its self-transformation journey for me to help them with respect to the emotional plane, mental plane, physical and spiritual dimension. That is what I work with people one-to-one, and they can follow me on Instagram called Conscious Living 117.
Amazing. Well, it's great. The content is amazing. And I love your wisdom. And also, I love your ability to kind of reframe things. And I think that's what the spiritual space needs,
Yeah,
as well as people that are honest, that can be like, okay, now I feel differently about this, or now I have a new interpretation, instead of keep with the same thing that was their old awareness. So I so appreciate you, and thank you for doing this.
Likewise, so much. I like your content as well. Like, there's a lot of things that I've learned from you over years. And
Thank you.
especially that video, which I told the backdrop people video, I was like, shared it with everyone, watch this video. It's like so good. Like, but, again, I start to question now this thing of backdrop people comes from the Dolores Cannon book. But again, what is your perception now after 3 years? Like, what do you believe about the backdrop people?
That's a good question. So it is one of those topics that I kind of feel both ways. What I think, the backdrop people, the NPC concept, I kind of feel that when people are experiencing different realities, we get a version of them that is an NPC, is kind of how I feel that it is now. Is that so? Like, say someone chooses to change their life and they drift away from those people, that soul still exists, but it's almost like the main character of that soul. If it was a game, the main character is now on a different level of the game, and we're getting almost like an NPC version of that person in our game who kind of serves a purpose more as an NPC rather than they don't have a soul. It's that their soul is actually focusing on a different perception of reality.
True, true. I do believe something very similar that maybe now there's also this movie called Free Guy. Have you seen that movie?
Yeah.
In that they clearly explain this concept, right? So what I do believe is that obviously everyone does has soul, but the awareness or the consciousness of the soul is different for different people. There's a soul which is very unconscious, living in this loop of eat, sleep, repeat cycle, not questioning. Even if they get to know something, they don't entertain that thought of exploring. So that soul's consciousness level is very low, maybe one or two. Then there's people who start to question, who start to rethink, and the evolution of the soul is going from just being a character to being a player, to question ki, what is this, where am I. Then when the person is trying to really understand how to manifest, how to work with their energies, with their spiritual journey, they're going to being a programmer where they use their free will to as much as they can to live consciously. So it's going from being in that predestined to that pro player to that free will programmer mode.
Mhm.
So it could be that way.
And I have another kind of perception of the NPC thing as well, which is like it's also very kind of ego based, because we think like, oh, the NPC people are like unaware. But then in a
Mm-hmm.
way you go through the hero's journey where like, okay, now I'm learning this. Now I'm learning this. We go all the way, the end of the hero's journey, you don't ascend off of this plane. You come back to the beginning with new
True.
eyes. So I
True.
feel like that's also the spiritual process. Is a lot of the spiritual concepts are like, oh, now I'm going to ascend off of this plane and be done with it. No, you actually go back to your NPC life with this new eyes to be able to be in the moment, being able to be like seeing the beauty and just having some bread. Whereas the eat, sleep, you get to be more like, like in the hero's journey, it's called Return with the Elixir. You go back to the
Mm-hmm.
beginning. You don't go somewhere else after you figure it out. You just get to enjoy life. So then we all kind of, if we reach like spiritual enlightenment, we kind of do go back to NPC mode, but it
True.
feels
True.
rich.
Yeah.
It feels full. It feels fulfilling, and you feel like God and everything in it.
So yeah, so that's what, no, it's like what we hear from the Dolores Cannon work as well. We again take it very literally that, oh, there's people with completely soulless. But again, it's one perception to look at, but there's so much depth to it. That is same with other things as well. Whatever we hear, there's so much depth to it, but we try to simplify and tell, and people think that, oh, this is only the truth. So yeah,
Mhm.
that's what we need to question again.
I love it. And it's a never ending journey that we just keep learning more and unlearning more. And then we get
Yeah,
to enjoy life for what it is, as opposed to this escapism of speaking to God, speaking to aliens, speaking to this. Then it's like, oh, then you get to just speak to your neighbor and actually enjoy life.
true, true, true. Very true.
Well, thank you so much. I so appreciate you. This was a wonderful conversation.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Enjoyed as well.
Thanks for listening to Ultra Minds with JK Ultra, where every Thursday we come out with a new interview interviewing some of the greatest minds in spirituality, consciousness, aliens, conspiracies, astrology, and so much more. And make sure you check out my Tuesday Night Live every Tuesday night, where I do a live stream and we do a Q&A and we go a deep dive into topics like the simulation theory, shadow work, spiritual bypassing, spiritual gurus turned cult leaders, aliens, my own experiences, and so much more. So make sure you subscribe, put on notifications, and if you would like to support my work, you can also become a subscriber to my Substack, which is $11 a month at jennifercarmody.substack.com. And once a month for our paid subscribers, we do a live event where we do a group hypnosis, a group meditation, or a group manifestation exercise. And thank you so much. Make sure that you subscribe, comment, do all the things, all the YouTube stuff.